Welcome back to another episode of NFL News on the Boomer Bust channel. I'm your host, Terry. And today, can we talk about something real quick as we get into the NFL season, the new NFL season? It's all exciting, fantasy football, betting, all that, blah, blah, blah. Can we talk about something? The passing league. The passing league. Everybody says that the NFL is a passing league, and they've been saying it for years, and I've always pushed back on that. Now, you have some people that will mention the defensive rules, or really the rules that go against the defense, and how that limits the defense. People talk about how you can't touch the quarterback. All of these different ways that you use the same term, passing league, but for the most part, people talk as if the league has exploded in passing. And so when you hear most sports media or talking heads saying it's a passing league, they say it matter of factly, like it's just the truth. And second, they usually are talking about they pass way more. So of course, for me, I'm watching the game and I'm like, that's not really true. I don't believe that's true at all. And just, based off what I've seen, but also just the nature of the game, that's just not true. Running the ball is still important. So we had a moment where people say running the ball is not important. And some people still say that the running game is dead. Again, not true at all. In fact, we started to see more running, I would say, in recent years. Actually, I can't say because I'm looking at the data, but we've seen more running. And I've said it's a full circle game. People going to trend back. Now, the reason that people feel differently about the run game, at least, is because you don't have the bell cow back. Most backs aren't the number one guy doing the heavy lifting 80% of the run. That's not how we see it. We see quarterbacks that are more mobile, and then we see running back by committee, which was something I remember back in the day as early with the Cowboys, and has become a thing that's pretty commonplace. You got guys like Dalvin Cook on a practice squad now. It falls off quick. So that's why some people say the running game's dead when that's not true. I feel the same way about passing. If I throw, or if our offense produces 5,000 yards of passing, I don't necessarily care if it was 80% to one receiver or spread out between four receivers and a tight end. Like, the production is the production. And so the same thing with rushing. The rushing is still happening. It's just not by one person. So we can look at this in two ways. And I'll be up front. I don't have my passing sheet, Excel sheet with me, but I remember the important numbers. So this is pretty easy. I looked at the last 16 seasons because I can't do math, but that's fine. 2008 to 2023. We looked at the seasons and we looked at the attempts per team, added it up, and did the average. So, and when you look across the league, as far as the average is 434 and a half. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the run. But I don't remember the passing numbers. But I added them up, had the average for the NFL that year, and then I divided it by its games, and then you get the average number of attempts per game. So this is important, of course, because the last 3 seasons, we've had 18 games. And now, one thing I want to acknowledge that really annoys me is that you got I don't understand this. When they started adding games and stuff, I was like, they're going to use not even an asterisk, but create a new set of records. And they don't. and it very much annoys me. Like the very first thing I thought about when I was like, I'm gonna do this data project is that there's more games now. And so you have to find a way to average it out. So some people are going to poo poo, but that's just statistically the best way to do it because that way you could make it even across the board. So, anyway, when you average it to per game, that way the last 3 seasons still matches up. Then we got the average of those. So of the 16 seasons. And again, I don't remember the number, but I can tell you that from 2008 to 2023, the average passing attempts per game only increased by 2. And that's the average. Keep in mind, certain years were lower than others, some were higher than others. People tend to paint this picture that run is on a steady decline and passing is on a steady incline. That's not the case. It pretty much looks like a lot of things look. Some years is up, some years is down. And people can speculate as to why in that particular year, but the games are even and the numbers go up sometimes they go down depending on that year. Might be injuries, might be whatever. But it all in all, if you just want to look at from 2008 to now, as far as the average per game, 2 more passes. We're not talking about 2 more passes, every drive. We're not even talking about 2 more passes per team necessarily. We're talking about 2 more in any average game. There's maybe 2 more passes. And again, that's in a given year. So if you have, I don't know, the Bears, we threw the ball very little. Ravens threw the ball very little. There's another team that threw the ball very little. But either one, you take any of those teams. If I throw 14 passes one game and next week I throw 16 passes, is that exploding anything numbers wise? Or even take it with Mahomes. Or, I mean, they passed decently, but let's say the Commanders, they passed all the time. Is 2 more passes really going to explode numbers over the season? No, it doesn't. So, again, even if you added up the 2 passes per team for the year, in the grand scheme of things, that's not an explosion. When the way people talk about the passing league and it exploded and it's blah, 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 and there's so much more passing than there used to be. If you want to compare it to the 70s and the 80s, now we could go that far, but there's no need to do that. We know that's increased. I'm talking about, since everyone's talking about this quote unquote passing league, looking at, so 15 years I think is a generous. We had a lot of players come in and out, coaches come in and out in that time. 15 years, 2 passes. And if I remember correctly, the last 3 seasons have had some of the lowest passing averages since 2011. So even if you wanted to say in a specific time frame, or I was talking about, when Mahomes got in the league, whatever. Even if you want to say that, the very recent years, passing has been down compared to the last 16 seasons. Passing has been down. So again, the passing league narrative, not quite there. So then the other opposite side's run. Okay, we're running less. Maybe we are passing a little bit more, but we're running less. Again, not true. Not even possible, really, because you got more games, but still. So I did the exact same thing with the run attempts. And it's even smaller of a margin. So the average attempts per game is 26.8. The lowest season in the last 16 years or 16 seasons was 25.9. 25.9. All right? That's not even a full carry. That's not even a full carry. So, I believe, yeah, 25.9. I believe that's what I said. So, 26.8 is the average. Last year was the exact average, 26.8. The year before that was higher than the average, 27.2. The year before that, 26.6, barely lower than the average. So, again, not last year, the 22 season, that average matched 2010. So, the rushing has not changed. On a per game basis, it's not even a full carry less. So, I don't know what else to say, but the numbers prove it. I mean, this is as simple as it gets. If you're telling me it's a passing league, if you're telling me that the run game no matter, if you're telling me the passing has exploded, then I should be able to look at the attempts and see a huge change. There is no huge change. There's no huge change, people. And I've been saying it without having to look at the numbers because you just watch. I've been saying that forever. That is such a false narrative. And now you just look at the numbers, which don't take long to look at. And yeah, you could probably, I mean, if you want to like look at where people are passing, which honestly might has gotten shorter because people throw a lot of bubbles and stuff, but it don't matter. Attempts, pure attempts. Passing has fluctuated, but on average, it's increased around 2 passes a game. Running has decreased less than the carry per game. End of story. So that's it for me. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Why is this false narrative out there? Why can't people just accept that it's not true? Why couldn't people just look at the simple numbers? I don't know. But what are your thoughts? Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.